Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Scripps. I'm chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the commission to order on June 9th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
I am present and attending remotely from Leelanau County, Michigan.
Commissioner Phillips.
I am present and attending remotely from a very muggy afternoon here in Ingham County, Michigan.
Commissioner Paratek.
I'm present and attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held remotely under the authority of a declaration of a state of emergency for the County of Eaton, pursuant to a resolution of the Eaton County Board of Commissioners adopted on April 21st, 2021. We are holding this meeting remotely using Microsoft Live Event. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via the live stream, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the closed caption or CC button in the lower right corner of the screen. During this meeting, we will call out participant names before speaking to support those listening only by phone or using relay service. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose connection, the commission will be in recess. We will attempt to reestablish a connection, but if we are unable to do so within 15 minutes, we will adjourn. Decisions made prior to the disconnection will be binding, and other business will be handled at a future meeting. We will not recess or adjourn due to technical issues experienced by individual members of the public. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the commissioners can receive comment via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in the Q&A feature on the live stream event on your computer and in the meeting notice. If you have intermittent internet service, you should consider listening to the meeting via telephone, not the computer. So if there is an interruption, you can avoid missing part of the meeting. Another option is to watch the meeting through your internet service with the sound muted and then listen to the audio from your phone. Please keep in mind the video feed has a slight delay while the telephone line is in real time. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comment as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments should be limited to one per person and can be made verbally by calling in or in writing via the live stream Q&A feature. If you are participating via Teams application, you can use the Q&A feature and type your comments into the box anytime during our meeting, and we will then have those queued up to read. The Q&A function should be used to request technical assistance or to submit public comments directed to the Commission. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must call into the meeting by phone. And to minimize disruptions, attendees will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting, and I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the minutes from the May 26, 2021 Commission meeting.
Oh, could we just back up just a bit? I think we need to first approve the agenda. No, you're good.
I move for approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I recognize Commissioner Paratek.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Paratek?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the May 26, 2021 Commission meeting. And Commissioner Phillips, I know you want to make this motion too.
I got a little too excited there. I now move the approval of the minutes from the May 26, 2021 Commission meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Paratek?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the May 26, 2021 Commission meeting. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Paratek?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote, and the Commission meeting minutes of May 26, 2021 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. And today the Commission is ably assisted by Staff Attorney Blair Renfro. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 3 communications matters, 1 electric matter, and 2 gas matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I recognize Commissioner Paratek.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Paratek.
Aye.
And I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A1 is case numbers U-20713 et al. Are consolidated proceedings involving applications filed by DTE Electric Company seeking approval of changes to its voluntary green pricing program pursuant to Section 61 of Public Act 342 of 2016, an amended renewable energy plan pursuant to Public Act 295 of 2008 as amended by Public Act 342 of 2016, and an ex parte application for approval of a build transfer agreement with Freshwater Solar Holdings LLC, a build transfer agreement with Whitetail Solar Holdings LLC, and a power purchase agreement with Calhoun County Solar Project LLC. Staff member Cody Matthews will describe this order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. On December 21st, 2016, Public Act 342, which amended Michigan's 2008 energy law, was signed into law. Among other things, Section 61 of Act 342 established the requirements for utilities to make voluntary green pricing or VGP programs available to customers. On August 31st, 2020, DTE Electric concurrently filed applications requesting Commission approval to amend its renewable energy plan and comply with the Section 61 requirements as follows. Add 797 megawatts of renewable energy to meet the forecasted VGP subscriptions from 2022 to 2025. Revise the My Green Power program to include a solar-only product, fixed-priced product, and a low-income community renewable energy product pilot. Revise the large customer voluntary green pricing program to include a flexible payment option. Add a customer requested offering to design and construct location-specific community solar projects. Use a tax equity financing structure for company-owned assets. Approval of a financial compensation mechanism. Ex parte approval of build transfer agreements or BTAs with Freshwater Solar Holdings LLC, a BTA with Whitetail Solar Holdings LLC, and a power purchase agreement with Calhoun County Solar Project LLC. On April 14th, 2021, DTE Electric filed a contested partial settlement agreement resolving all issues with the exception of the Financial Compensation Mechanism, or FCM. Highlights of the settlement agreement include the following. Supports the proposed build plan of 797 megawatts for the VGP program. DTE Electric will provide updated subscriptions and sales forecasts information as part of its semi-annual VGP report. Tax equity financing is an allowable utility financing structure available as an option for all future BTAs and self-developed projects. The parties agree that the Commission should approve the Whitetail Solar BTA, Freshwater Solar BTA, and Calhoun County Solar PPA contracts as proposed in the ex parte application filed in docket U-20851. DTE Electric will include a customer requested offering in its VGP program. DTE Electric will use reasonable efforts to construct and launch 3 low-income solar pilot projects with commercial operation dates in 2022 through 2024. DTE Electric will target 1 project per year. DTE Electric will solicit 100 megawatts of small-scale solar build transfer projects from projects with pending interconnection applications. DTE Electric will form a low-income solar council. The order before you in case numbers U-20713 and U-20851 approves the partial settlement agreement, amended renewable energy plan, and 3 solar contracts to supply the VGP program. The changes to the plan would not result in a renewable energy surcharge increase, which is currently set at $0. At this time, DTE Electric is authorized to apply a financial incentive to VGP power purchase agreements based on a percentage of the difference in cost between company-owned projects and power purchase agreements pursuant to MCL 460.6T as outlined in this order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. I'll now turn to Commissioner Phillips for a motion.
Thank you once again for the presentation, and I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-20713 et al.
I recognize Commissioner Paratek.
I second the motion.
Before we move to the vote, just a couple comments on this order, and a little bit more to expand on what Mr. Matthews had presented. First of all, the partial settlement that we're approving today includes a number of items that really sort of are newsworthy, each in their own right. The addition of nearly 800 megawatts of renewable energy, driven not by mandates or statutory requirements, but by customer demand. For participation in the voluntary green pricing program offered by DTE between now and 2025, I think speak to the success of that program in meeting customer needs who are seeking additional amounts of renewable energy to power their homes and businesses. It's a significant step forward, and I'm pleased to see it happen. In addition, the work around the low-income solar pilot projects, with commercial operation dates starting next year and then one each year for the next 3 years, I think are a significant step forward. And I would also highlight the creation of this new low-income solar council to bring community involvement into the operation and development of the projects. You know, states across the country have been struggling with how better to integrate authentic community-based voices, particularly from low-income communities. And I see the settlement provisions around the low-income solar council and the low-income solar pilot projects as really significant steps here. In addition, the agreement to solicit 100 megawatts of small-scale solar build-transfer projects from projects with pending interconnection applications, I think provides a meaningful path to project development for developers who have been languishing in the queue, in some cases for several years, and provides a light at the end of the tunnel and I think a significant and solid way of resolving some of these contentious issues. And then finally, authorizing DTE to use tax equity financing, I think provides just another tool in the financial toolbox, helps to level the playing field and provide access to capital in a way that I think ultimately results in lower cost projects for customers. And then finally, outside of the provisions included in the settlement agreement, the order that we are approving today, as Mr. Matthews noted, authorizes DTE to apply a financial incentive to power purchase agreements included in their voluntary green pricing program based on expected customer savings. The use of financial incentives was authorized by the legislature back in 2016 as part of their bipartisan legislative reforms as a way of helping to level the playing field between utility-owned projects and those developed by third parties in order to reduce costs to customers, trying to find ways to align the utility's business interests with customer interests in a meaningful way. And the savings-based incentive approved by the Commission today, I think, goes a long way in encouraging DTE to select lower cost generation resources that result in savings for their customers. So I am pleased to support the order before us. I want to thank the utility, the many interveners in our case, and our staff for a good result that I think in a number of ways meaningfully moves the ball forward. And I also want to thank Administrative Law Judge Snyder. This was not an easy or straightforward case. It was two cases that ultimately were merged, resulting in a partial contested settlement with one issue yet to be resolved on a read the record basis by the Commission. But his handling of the case and the proceeding through those challenges, I think, was instrumental in getting us to the place that we are today. And so I am encouraged to support this order. Is there any further discussion?
Only one other brief comment, Chair. I concur with your statements that this is a well-composed settlement that advances many of the efforts and priorities made by stakeholders, the utilities, and this Commission over the last several years. So I applaud interveners and our staff, as well as the utilities, for reaching this agreement. And then also just would like to again thank our staff, advisors, RAD, and in particular Ms. Caitlin Mucci for getting us to the finish line with this order. I know that there was a lot of work that was involved in getting us to today. And again, just really appreciate the time and effort that you always make, but particularly the last 2 weeks in getting us to this final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Paratek?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote, and the order in case numbers U-20713 et al. Is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A2 is case number U-20735, which involves an action on the Commission's own motion to amend the rules that govern the preservation of records for electric, gas, and steam utilities. The order before you approves the proposed rules and authorizes their submission to the Legislative Service Bureau and the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules for formal approvals.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20735.
Thank you, Commissioner Phillips. I recognize Commissioner Peretick.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Peretick.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote, and the order in case number U-20735 is approved. Back to you, Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A3 is case number U-21043, which involves an ex parte application filed by Consumers Energy Company requesting approval of changes to the residential income assistance and low income assistance provisions of its residential rate service tariffs. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21043.
I recognize Commissioner Peretick.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Peretick.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21043 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B1 is case number U-20975, which involves an ex parte application by DTE Gas Company requesting a temporary waiver of Michigan Administrative Code Rule 460.2351 and approval of an alternative statistical quality sampling program for in-service diaphragm meters under Rule 460.2351A3, which is part of the Commission's technical standards for gas service. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20975.
Thank you, Commissioner Phillips. I recognize Commissioner Peretick.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Peretick.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20975 is approved. Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B2 is case number U-21024, which involves an application filed by DTE Gas Company requesting ex parte approval of a waiver for compliance of American Petroleum Institute Standard 1164, second edition, under Michigan Administrative Code Rule 460.2345 until year end 2024. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21024.
I recognize Commissioner Peretick.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to comment on the issue of gas pipeline safety and thank the Mpsc staff for their thorough work in reviewing DTE Gas's compliance with this more stringent and comprehensive API standard for pipeline security. Cybersecurity of critical infrastructure is at the front of many minds today, and the Commission takes our duty of ensuring safe and reliable energy system very seriously. DTE Gas is currently working to implement the new API best practices and guidelines, and by the end of this year, will be compliant with 11 out of the 16 requirements, with the remainder to be completed progressively through 2024. DTE Gas will be fully compliant with the standards set forth in the business continuity planning section and with the application database standard by 2022. Alignment with the system security audit and review standards will be completed by 2023, and compliance with the field device technology standards will occur by 2024. Our staff has fully reviewed the implications of the partial compliance delay and is comfortable with the balance that DTE Gas has made between the risk to the system versus the timing of compliance upgrades and the associated potential customer impact through increased rates. It's notable that the recent pipeline cyber attacks in the news were carried out by the IT systems, where these compliance requirements are focused on operational technology. Furthermore, staff is working on 2 programs currently which support cybersecurity review. First, gas safety engineer Derek Shimming is actively participating in a multi-state program with the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration to audit utility control room procedures. And second, energy security analyst Brian Sheldon is scheduling meetings with Michigan's utilities to discuss their cybersecurity protocols, similar to the existing extreme weather preparedness meetings that are ongoing. Cybersecurity does continue to remain forefront of mind for the Commission to ensure that we are serving Michigan's residents through safe, reliable, and accessible energy services.
Well said, Commissioner. And thank you for your leadership and really sort of fly-specking this and continuing to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our critical infrastructure secure. Any additional discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Peretick?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21024 is approved. Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B3 is case number U-21033, which involves an application by Greenlight Energy, Inc. to become a licensed alternative gas supplier. The order before you grants the license.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21033.
I recognize Commissioner Peretick.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Peretick?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote and the order in case number U-21033 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 5 on today's agenda is an update from our Telecommunications Division on the status of telecommunications licenses and on ETC applications related to the FCC's Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. Staff member Barry Harmon is here to update us.
Welcome, Mr. Harmon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Barry Harmon, and I work as a senior auditor in the Rates and Financial Analysis section of the Telecommunications Division. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share the work that staff has been doing in the Telecommunications Division for the past 3 to 4 months regarding the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund as it relates to Michigan. I would like to first give you some background information on the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, or more commonly referred to as RDOF, that was put forth by the FCC. Broadband access is critical to economic opportunity, job creation, education, and civic engagement. There still remains millions of households and small businesses that lack access to reliable broadband service, including more than 7 million in rural areas throughout the United States. Connected Nation Michigan estimates that 300,000 Michigan households do not have any fixed terrestrial broadband service available to them at a speed of at least 25 megabits per second from any provider. The FCC has continued to make closing the digital divide a top priority. On January 30th, 2020, the FCC adopted the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund report and order, which established the framework for the RDOF. The RDOF used a reverse auction and will take place in 2 phases. Up to $16 billion was made available for phase 1 of the RDOF, and an additional $4.4 billion will be made available for phase 2. Each provider that was interested in participating in the auction submitted a bid for any of the areas or census blocks that were deemed eligible by the FCC. All bids were accepted for 4 performance tiers, each tier with varying speed and usage allowances and either high or low latency. The winning bidders must offer the service associated with their winning bid. One of the requirements impacting this commission and many other state commissions across the country is the requirement of a winning bidder of the RDOF auction to have been designated as an eligible telecommunications carrier, or ETC, to seek and receive designation as an ETC before the FCC's deadline of June 7th, 2021. The Mpsc is responsible for processing and approving ETC designations of applications in Michigan. On December 7th, 2020, the winning bidders of the RDOF Phase 1 auction were announced by the FCC. Nationally, there were over 180 winning bidders in the auction, and of the nearly 5.3 million locations, approximately 99% were covered by winning bids. This means that out of all the locations identified by the FCC as unserved, only 1% remain without a bidder that would bring broadband to the location. As the winning bidders of the RDOF were announced, it was determined that there were 13 winning bidders from Michigan, and they were assigned nearly 250,000 locations throughout Michigan. Additionally, the winning bidders in Michigan will potentially receive nearly $363 million in RDOF support over the next 10 years to build out their networks and bring broadband to these unserved locations. Some winning bidders, such as electric co-op consortiums, could assign their winning locations to specific providers. As part of the rules and requirements of the RDOF auction, the FCC has stated that winning bidders must obtain an ETC designation in order to receive RDOF support. Each winning bidder is required to submit proof of obtaining its ETC designation within 180 days of the public notice identifying winning bidders. This effectively created a deadline of June 7th, 2021. As a result of the winning bidder public notice of the RDOF auction, the Mpsc began to receive a large number of applications for ETC designation beginning in January of this year. The total number of ETC applications related to the RDOF that the Mpsc received was 15. 10 of those applications seeking designation were for providers that were not currently ETCs operating in Michigan, and the remaining 5 applications were for providers that were currently ETCs in Michigan and were seeking an expansion of their current service area. The type of provider varied, such as cable, satellite, traditional telephone, or electric co-op. And this slide provides you with the names of the providers that received ETC designation and ETC expansions in this process. Each application was thoroughly reviewed to ensure that all required compliance related to state and federal obligations were included. All ETCs are also required to provide standalone voice service and comply with the federal requirements associated with providing that service. As I mentioned earlier, most of the RDOF winning bidders that applied for ETC designation or expansion were non-traditional providers of telephone service, but they must voluntarily treat themselves as one regarding the voice service. So, in addition to applying for ETC designation, each provider must also obtain a telecommunications license to provide service in Michigan before it may receive its ETC designation. Of the 15 RDOF winning bidders applying for ETC designation or expansion, 8 providers needed to apply for a license or expand their license to provide voice service in Michigan as well. The remaining 7 providers already had an existing telecommunication license in Michigan. As of today's commission meeting, 14 of the 15 ETC applications have now been approved. Additionally, 7 of the 8 telecommunications license applications have been approved and they have received their permanent license. With these approvals, the providers are able to continue their RDOF process and remain eligible to receive approximately $353 million in RDOF support, serving 241,184 locations throughout Michigan. For the one remaining provider, That provider is currently in their licensing process, and once that is completed, the commission will be able to move forward with their ETC designation request. This provider has requested an extension with the FCC regarding the June 7th, 2021 filing deadline, as is allowed through the RDOF process. Staff is not anticipating issues with this extension request. And lastly, as an acknowledgement and conclusion, I would like to say that the number of ETC and licensing applications that were filed with the commission was a significant undertaking by staff, especially given the FCC's 180-day deadline. Those staff who contributed to the ETC and licensing applications and assistance with the commission orders are Barry Harmon, Josh McConkey, Ryan McEnany, Sean Kelly, Wendy Thalen, and lastly, the Regulatory Affairs Division staff. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to discuss the RDOF with you and provide you with information as to the work that the Telecommunications Division staff has been undertaking for the past 3 to 4 months regarding the RDOF.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. It really has been a really significant achievement and one that will pay dividends for Michigan in the years to come. Commissioner Phillips, I know you had some comments on this.
Just very briefly, thank you, Barry, for your work as well as the efforts of the entire Telecommunications and Regulatory Affairs divisions on helping to pave the way for an additional almost 250,000 households in Michigan to be connected to high-speed broadband over the next 10 years. Along with the launch of the FCC's Emergency Broadband Benefit Program in May and the governor's announcement last week on the establishment of a Michigan Office for High-Speed Internet and creation of a Chief Connectivity Officer here in the state, your work has laid the foundation for the future of broadband connectivity in Michigan for decades to come. So I want to keep things just fairly short this afternoon. I think it's important as an institution for us to take time to celebrate and to memorialize our successes. So again, I once again thank you, Barry, for the presentation and for our staff's continued work in this area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you again, Mr. Harmon, for your leadership in that of the division. We have now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the Commission. Again, if you would like to make a comment and have access to the Teams live stream Q&A feature on your computer, please enter your name and your comment, which will then be read aloud to the Commissioners. This feature is available on the right-hand side of the control bar next to the mute button. As a reminder, the Q&A feature is intended for public comments directed to the Commission and not to engage with other participants or respond to their comments. After taking any comments through this feature, we will open up the phone line for those who called into the meeting and would like to address the Commission verbally. If you want to be queued up for verbal comments, please enter your name in the live stream Q&A feature and indicate that you wish to make a verbal comment, but please do not include your written comment, as this will avoid duplication. I will first call on these names in the order received. After hearing from those individuals listed in the Q&A, we will ask if there are any comments from individuals who are on the phone line but not utilizing the online Q&A feature. Please note that you can only make verbal comments by calling into the meeting. When it is your turn to speak, press *6 on your phone to unmute. As a reminder, this public comment period is for Commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you are willing to share so that we have that for our records. And please limit comments to 1 per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. And Ms. Cole, I believe that you are again assisting in this portion of the Commission agenda. Do we have any comments that have been entered through the Q&A feature?
None at this time, Chair Scripps.
Do we have anybody who has entered an interest in speaking through the Q&A feature, but who would like to provide a written or a verbal comment by phone?
No one has indicated they would like to speak today in the Q&A feature.
Excellent. We'll now open the phone lines. I always feel like Larry King when I do that, and see if there's anybody who is waiting their turn to speak. Again, you can press *6 on your phone to unmute, and we'll take you in the order that I hear you. Again, if you are interested in making a public comment today, you can press *6 on your phone to unmute. We'd like to hear from you. We'll try it one more time just in case somebody is muted and thinks they're speaking. Anybody out there wishing to make a public comment today? We will close the public comment portion of today's agenda. And before we close, just 2 announcements from me today. First, the Mpsc is celebrating Pride Month this June. The purpose of this month-long celebration is to recognize the impact that LGBTQ+ individuals have had on history locally, nationally, and internationally, and certainly here at the Commission as well. As the New York Times described it this morning, pride is an assertion of self, a taking up of public space historically unsafe. And for members of the LGBTQ+ community, that sadly remains too often the case today here, even in 2021. This month, the Commission is joining others across state government for a series of events focused on celebrating the contributions of the LGBTQ+ community, as well as how we can create a more affirming state government, ultimately allowing us to better serve the people of Michigan through a more inclusive, more effective workforce. So for all those celebrating, we wish you well and join you in wishing you a happy Pride Month. In addition, the Commission will soon be posting a number of position openings to join the Commission team, including a departmental analyst trainee in the technical support section of the Administrative Services Division, focus on supporting the use of software throughout the Commission. A departmental analyst trainee also in the Compliance and Investigations section of the Customer Assistance Division, supporting the call center as a regulation officer. As trainee positions, these first 2 opportunities will only be open to current state employees. But we have a third position, a departmental analyst, also in the Compliance and Investigation section of the Customer Assistance Division. This individual will serve in the call center as a regulation officer, and this position is open to external applicants as well as current state employees. Again, we'll be posting these positions shortly, and they will be highlighted on our website. I'd say that the Commission is a great place to work. It's a talented, energetic, and inclusive team of approximately 175 professionals with expertise in engineering, law, economics, finance, accounting, and technical and administrative services that help us do our work, and we encourage all those eligible to consider applying. Any other comments from Commissioners Phillips or Paratek today?
No additional comments from me this afternoon, Chair. Thank you.
All right. And I saw Commissioner Paratek shaking her head. So this concludes today's meeting. Our next regular Commission meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Phillips?
There is a motion to adjourn today's Commission meeting.
I recognize Commissioner Paratek.
I second the motion.
We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Paratek?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by a unanimous vote and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Thanks all.